Hey guys, what's going on? Today we are going to be talking about ID and class. ID and class are two attributes, and I had already explained before what an attribute is, but if you need a refresher, an attribute is something that gives more information about a tag. For example, href is an attribute in this link tag. Anyway, continuing on. What can ID in class do, and why are they important, and why are we learning it? Well, ID and class allow you to refer to specific tags in your HTML document through CSS. So what that basically means is if you have more than one, for example, paragraph tag, like this is another one, and close that, and you go into your style.css, what if you only want to refer to this paragraph tag and not this one? Because as of now, if we save this, look at our great page, reload, you see that both of these are exactly the same because in our CSS we're referring to every paragraph tag by typing this. So how do we say that we only want to refer to this one? Well, what we do is we type ID. So we do ID equals, and then you name it. So let's say I want to name this par, or my paragraph. But to keep it simple, let's just name it par. So you can name this anything you want. It's just a way to refer it to something. So you could even name this like apple if you wanted to. But let's just keep it par, which stands for paragraph. Go into your style.css, and now we're going to refer to that paragraph tag. So how do we do that? All you have to do is let's delete this, and let's type hashtag and the ID name. So what this hashtag says is I'm referring to an ID, and this ID is named par. Okay, great, so it's going to find this tag. So if we go, save this, and reload our page, you'll notice that only one is affected, the other one is not. But there's also something called class. So what class is it allows you to refer to multiple tags at once. So the way ID works is you're only supposed to use ID on one tag. You're only supposed to use it on one specific element at once. You're not supposed to have ID twice. So you're not supposed to do ID equals par again. That's where class comes in. Now, to make this make a little bit more sense, I'm going to create a third paragraph tag called another. Okay, close that. And so how do we refer to these two paragraph tags only? Well, let's delete this ID equals par, and let's write class equals par. Now we're going to do that for this lower one also. Okay, there we go. And now we have these two. But it's not referred to as a hashtag. When you're talking about a class, you want to use a period. So I would write .par. And what this basically says to CSS is I want you to find all tags that have the class named par. So it's going to find these two, and it's going to affect them. So let's go ahead and reload this page. And you'll see that these two paragraphs were affected, but this one wasn't. Now, quite simply, if we wanted to affect this one also, we just do class equals par, right? And reload, and it's fixed. So that's where ID in class comes in. Now, you'll notice that if I delete these and write ID here, ID equals par, and then ID equals par here, and then change this to a hashtag, save both of them, and check this out, you'll see that they're still both affected. Now, I know that this obviously is not what I told you. You were expecting only one of these to work. Now, technically, ID will work on these elements. However, it's not proper HTML formatting. And when you go and create very extensive web pages with JavaScript, PHP, HTML, CSS, jQuery, and all these other languages, you're going to be saying, wow, I really wish I had used class instead of ID, or I had used ID instead of class, because right here, this is improper HTML and will cause problems. So it's best to use just what they're assigned for. Now, I had mentioned before that HTML is a very lazy language. HTML really will just try its hardest to push the web page out of the way and just render it as soon as possible. It will throw errors every once in a while, but generally HTML just doesn't care. I mean, you could delete this closing paragraph tag and you'd see that, I mean, it still works, you know, but once again, that's not proper HTML, and that will cause problems in the future. So let's go ahead and delete this ID and do a quick recap. So whenever we want to refer to a tag in CSS, we just type the tag name, for example, paragraph. What this does is it finds every single paragraph tag in your document and it will affect that. However, sometimes in your HTML and CSS, you want to refer to an individual tag. That's where ID comes in. You add an ID and you name it. And inside your CSS, you refer to that ID by typing hashtag and the name. So we can check that out. Here we go. Now, in HTML, sometimes you want to refer to more than one element at a time, but don't want to refer to all of them. It's like saying ID more than once, but in a proper way. So that's where class comes in. Class allows you to refer to a bunch of these guys all at once, like this, and we'll refer to all of these guys, of course, by adding a period which says I'm looking for a class. It will refer to only the elements you put the class in. So that's just an explanation on what ID and class are. In the next tutorial, we're going to start working with dividers in span. Those two are very similar but very different at the same time, so I know that doesn't make any sense and I'm really excited to explain it, so I will see you in that next one.